Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. Paul Jasson with you. Thank you for joining us. I think we'll have an interesting and a thought-provoking show. Second half of the show, we'll talk to the new executive director of somebody that's located just about 100 yards up the hill from us right here, the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio. We'll have him on, and he's a new guy in town. We'll get to discuss how he's doing and what it's like to be head of a big agency like the Decorative Arts Center. First part of the show today, always fun for me to talk about the Lancaster High School Band, something that was very close to my heart. I was in the band many moons ago when the current band director perhaps wasn't even born. I was in the band back then, but it's a pleasure to have with us Ben Factor. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
An exciting time. It's always an exciting time this time of the year because the band show always is coming up. It's a little bit different, moved, and things happen all the time, but it's the 100th year of the Lancaster High School Band. That's remarkable.
It really is. This is an exciting year for us. It's a great year to celebrate what we've been here to accomplish and what we've been here to represent for the last century.
Well, it'll be interesting because here at Fairfield Federal, this was their 125th anniversary. Of course, things kind of come to a screeching halt in many areas. You kind of have to, every day, every week, you work through it, and I'm sure that's the way the band is approaching. It's perhaps not all that you thought it would be as you celebrate your 100th anniversary, but you make plans, you change them, and you make new plans, and it moves forward. So right now, lots of events planned.
We're planning a lot of things this fall to be out in the community. That's going to be our most important thing for the fall, especially with a year where we're not going to be traveling like we typically would, but just embrace that original intent, which was to be here for our community and inspire our residents.
Let's talk a little bit about how and again, everybody, we took a couple months off here like everybody did when the virus hit around March, and by the time we got back, since then we've been back several months now, 2 or 3 months I guess, and there isn't one person we've had on, no matter what the subject matter has been, that hasn't been impacted by the virus. I mean, it affects everybody. You, a band director, the Lancaster City Schools, the Lancaster High School. We've talked to Superintendent Wigton. We've had Principal Burry on to talk about it all before kind of school started. Now you're back underway now. How has the virus impacted, would you say, the band in general?
Yeah, we've had to put a lot of safety precautions in our plans in making sure that that's passed and looked over by the health department and certainly our school district to make sure that not only our students are safe, which is very important, but they feel comfortable. We want to make sure that our band program is someplace where everybody feels comfortable being and that we can continue doing what we're doing, which is to make music and to be with one another and things like that. But we've had to limit rehearsal time. We've had to change a lot of our procedures, more outdoor rehearsing. We've had to think a lot about science and aerosol spread and some things that we all had to learn a lot about. So it's been an interesting few months for sure, but everybody's been very flexible, very understanding, and I think in a sense working harder because we have to.
I'm going to guess here, and I've spent a lot of time in your band room out there. I was there the day Lancaster High School opened up back in 1964, was the first class, and now as things are winding down a little bit for that building and that high school, I know the band room, I know Sandy McCoy's vocal music room right through the offices on the other side. I'm going to guess it's been very difficult to play the instruments with masks on. So you remove them. Is everybody still pretty snugged up in there, or have you had to make some concessions?
Yeah, our room, as you know, is not the biggest room,
sure.
The biggest band room in the state, of course, but we're looking forward to our new high school here in a few years.
Yeah.
But during the school day, now that we've started school, we can fit 33 socially distanced in that room, which isn't too bad. We can make that work, and since we have blended learning, where we only have half of the students at once.
Oh, that's right.
It actually works out pretty well so far.
Has that worked out well? Because let's see, as I understand it, Monday everybody's online, and then people go Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday. So you have perhaps half as many people each day?
That's right. And with 3 concert bands, we have 3 concert bands of less than 50. So half the group, depending on the size of the group and the size of the alphabet in that half, we can easily fit that many students in and safely be able to play. And it's been working out well for us so far.
So how often does the entire band get together in total number? At all?
Well, the concert bands right now not.
Okay.
We've just started here the last couple weeks or last few weeks here. As far as marching band being after school and being able to be outside,
Sure.
We're still meeting every week and a couple times a week here to get ready for our events. Concert band's going to be a little different as we transition into the later fall and the winter. We'll have to be a little more creative with how we go about our full rehearsals.
That's the key right now is, I hate the term, the new normal, whatever that is. We all want whatever it used to be. We'd like that, but it is what it is now. And we were talking about on your website, you've got a lot of good information out there, dates and things, but almost before the ink is dry, some of that's changed at times. I mean, things have to be pretty fluid with your band members and with the administration.
Yeah, we've been changing a lot. As we think about our performances, originally, of course, we're thinking about football games home and away, and we're thinking about competitions. And as the spring started to develop, we realized those things weren't going to all happen. So we have made some changes. For example, instead of going to our away football games, we've been doing several community concerts, neighborhood concerts here in town, which have been very successful and very popular. Having our local neighborhoods walk down to the nearest elementary school and hear the band marching through neighborhoods. Things that typically we wouldn't be able to do because we'd be at an away football game. But since we're here in town, we're able to really share that with the local community.
Is that how it's worked for most of the bands? You do the home games but not away games. Is that how pretty much the bands do it?
This year, that's what's happening.
Yes, with everybody.
With everybody.
So if you're away, Lancaster plays away as they did for a couple weeks, no band activities there. They come home, back here, then you're off there.
Yep,
and
that's
no
right.
other band.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually halftime's been shortened to 10 minutes instead of
Okay.
20 minutes, which still works for us when
Sure.
you have the home band
Sure.
perform, but the games are a little different.
We've got Lancaster High School Band Director Ben Factor with us, and Ben's talking about all things band as the Lancaster High School Band celebrates its 100th year, a very momentous time for the Lancaster High School Band of Gold. And usually we have Ben on at this time, maybe a little bit earlier actually, to talk about the big band show coming up. And it's still a big band show. And tell us about that coming up, what, October 10th?
October 10th.
Okay, very soon it's coming up, and be out here at Fulton Field. And I was looking at the lineup again on your website. You got a lot of good information. Got all the information about the bands that'll be there. Is everybody still on?
We're getting more as the days progress here.
Sure.
So as each district makes decisions and is able to do certain things, we're continuing to fill up a few extra slots.
So if everybody can be there, what's the agenda? How many bands?
We're still up in the air with that, but I'm expecting a smaller number than typical. We have to make sure we limit the number of bands in
Sure.
certain blocks so we can clear out the stadium and make sure that all family members can see their band
Right,
member
right.
perform. So we'll try to do about 4 bands per block and probably about 2 blocks before we end the night.
Will the seating for, say, parents or the band folks that come with each band, you certainly have your great band boosters that go with you wherever you go, and the other bands come here with much the same ado about that. Is there fewer number that would be allocated to be in Fulton Field during this now?
Yeah, just like football games, we're limited to about 15%,
Okay.
which definitely limits it. But with calculating how many spectators most bands bring, we can pretty easily decide how many bands can perform without clearing the stadium. So our goal is certainly to make sure that we don't have to limit anybody that wants to see their band member. We just may have to clear them out and make room for some more. As
you put them on both sides of the field to use the home, visitors, everything's utilized?
We could. For football, that works a little bit better. For band, obviously, we have one direction which we perform.
They'd like to be there, so everybody's looking at you.
Sure. So we can utilize the visiting side, but I suspect most fans would probably want to see their band from the front, so that's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you guys do you do a special show for this, one that you don't do for football games, or in this year of kind of limited access sometimes is you do a show you've already done?
Yeah, so we've been continually adding music as the season progresses, especially in a year that's a little uncertain, not knowing how many weeks we might have, which we've been doing really well for the whole summer, really. But we have some flexibility. Since it's not an OMEA-sanctioned competition, we can have some flexibility with what we perform, with the format that it works with. So we'll be doing a lot of a traditional competition-like show, but it'll be a little lighter in nature too, so we'll throw in a few things that will just be fun for the audience.
Well, it's always so exciting to see the band in gold. That's really one of the treats. You get to see a nice football game in years past, the way it's always been, and then at the halftime you got to see a couple bands. It's always been great fun to see that. And you mentioned this a little bit earlier. Pretty exciting time for the high school right now. Again, we've had Superintendent Wigton on and Principal Burry on to talk about the new high school, and something Scott Burry mentioned to me, and it just didn't register to me. You know, Ewing's gone now. Ewing is just and I could share this with you. I won't tell anybody else, but I'm a General Sherman boy, and in my mind, Thomas Ewing never looked better than it does right now. The fact that it's gone, I kid, but that's all gone now. But Principal Burry mentioned something, that when the high school is built, which will be behind where you are right now, really on your practice fields back in there, that's where it's going to be. From Fair Avenue all the way back there will be Lancaster High School. That's an incredible campus. I'm sure you visit many high schools when far more that you don't see anything like that. It's just a building or two maybe, and that's it. And here there's going to be an incredible space there for ball fields and marching band fields. You guys will, I guess, pretty much be on Fulton Field at that point, but it's going to be a heck of a thing there in that valley to have Lancaster schools spread out over that far.
It is. We're very fortunate to be able to build a beautiful high school and have all that land available just to showcase everything our students are doing. So we're really looking forward to those changes and the ability to make some of those decisions as the years go on.
I guess that's going to be part of it. Do you got about a minute left? Do you get much input on what you and perhaps Sandy McCoy on her side and your side? Do you get some input on what you'd like to see? Is there a wish list you put out there?
There is, and we've been talking about that a good bit. As the months progress here and we start to look at some of those plans, we'll be able to look at that. Obviously, the space is limited, and we have specific square footage that we're looking at. But where rooms go and where the traffic flow goes, we know that better than anybody.
Sure.
And those are easier decisions to make as far as how that will go.
Well, it's going to be an exciting time the next 3 or 4 years as this goes on. So again, October 10th, your big band show. It'll be a little different here. It's not Zoom. There's going to be people there. There's going to be bands there. We hope it goes well, but again, we'll play it by ear and watch how it all works out. But we're looking forward to that. And the 100th year, congratulations on being the band director during this. There's been a lot of great people before you who you're on the shoulders of a great history, a rich history with Lancaster High School and the band. So best of luck, Ben, and as you move through what certainly will be an interesting year at Lancaster High School. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
October 10th is the big band show for Lancaster High School Band of Gold and all the other bands out of Fulton Field. You go on the website and find all that information. We'll be back to talk Decorative Arts Center in just a moment.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. our people make the difference.
It's a hometown bank. It's located here in Fairfield County. Branches are convenient. They're located here in Pickerington, where my office is. I'm in Lancaster a lot, and they have plenty of branches there. And I much prefer dealing with the hometown banks rather than the larger nationwide chain banks.
So far, everybody's been so personable, and for us to bank with the local bank, and we bank in Lancaster, it's been so wonderful because we'll call somebody, Steve will call somebody, and they'll get back to us right away, or they'll say, okay, we're going to make a decision in the basement tomorrow, and they'll get back to us, rather than calling a bigger bank where we had to wait, and we didn't always get the same person the next time we called for a investment banking opportunity, or getting something appraised, any of those kind of things.
Everybody is very customer friendly. A lot of times I'll bring my dog Bear with me, and the staff love him here, and of course he loves them and the treats that he gets. So it's just a nice kind of a family type environment.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Thank Ben Factor coming in and talk about the Lancaster High School Band of Gold in their 100th year. And of course, we're here at Fairfield Federal, and it's 125 years. So, I mean, timing is everything as we move into a different time of 2020, moving into 2021 about with the COVID-19, it's affected everybody. And one of the places, of course, that it has affected is almost any place in town. And the museums have been affected as much or more than anybody. And one, as we mentioned, just about 100 yards up the hill here is the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio. They are open and up and running again. And actually, they have a new executive director, Jason Crabill. And Jason, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Paul. Thanks for having me.
First time on here, and new guy in the community, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. But interesting time to make a job change.
Indeed,
right in the throes of COVID-19.
That's right.
I'm sure you wish for a better beginning, but here you are now. You've been here a couple of months. Just quick overview. What do you think?
Well, so first of all, thanks for having me.
Sure.
I appreciate the time. It's been you're right. It has been an interesting time to come on board, but to be honest, I think it's working out really well. I came on board just as the museum was able to reopen. And so I've gotten to see all the amazing work that the staff and the community have done to get to this point. I've just been so impressed. I'm not from Lancaster, although I did go to college at OU in Athens.
Very good.
Right?
Yay.
So Lancaster.
Go Bobcats.
That's right. And I grew up on the east side of Columbus. So Lancaster has always been sort of a middle spot.
I can tell the fact that you call it Lancaster, and not Lancaster. You know.
I know. So I wasn't surprised by the welcome I've received or the community. And I just, as I was saying, I've been so impressed with how the community has responded, and particularly how that's reflected in the way the Decorative Arts Center has been able to really come back from the sudden closure, and everybody, we're still working through it, as an organization, as a community, as a country, but I think we're in a pretty good spot in the community, and as a resource for the community. So.
Jason Crabill, new executive director for the Decorative Arts Center, again, just up the hill here on Main Street, and they're open again. We'll talk about that, hours and everything that's going on right here. But Jason's a new kid in town. Give us a little bit about your background here. What brought you here?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I graduated from Ohio University in the late 90s with a degree in anthropology.
Good luck with that.
Right. But I'd always had an interest in museums. In fact, I volunteered at 13 as soon as I was able to sign the paperwork at COSI when I was a young teenager, and so I've always had a love and a passion for museums. And so after college, I actually worked at COSI for several years in several different positions, and then took some time in the for-profit world, and then went back to school and got a master's degree from Kent State in library science, and ended up working for about 14 years at the Ohio History Connection, right sort of at the precipice of archives and museums. I did several things there, but primarily worked with the collections and worked with more importantly, worked with the curators and the registrars and the people who are responsible for the collections, and really got to see their passion for caring for the material culture of our history and how that can be used to to help us understand the world around us and where we come from.
So you indicated you grew up on the east side of Columbus. You've, I'm sure, been through Lancaster a few times, going between there and Athens. You've made the trip. Or back in the day, there wasn't any way to get around it. You couldn't bypass Lancaster. You didn't bypass Nelsonville.
That's right.
You went straight through all of them right there.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on of Lancaster and the Arts Museum in general as you kind of get your feet wet?
Sure. Well, as I said, I've always known about Lancaster, and come and visited from time to time. It was always an afternoon destination on the weekend, and so I was aware of the arts, the value that the community places on the arts and culture.
Absolutely.
And so coming on board in my role now, I see that firsthand. But I also see that that is true for part of the community, that arts and culture is a main feature. I think that there's a real opportunity for us to be a part of a conversation about broadening that opportunity to the entire community, and whether it's working through the schools or working with community organizations to really be a resource for arts and culture for the broader Lancaster and Fairfield County community.
Jason Crabill is our guest, the new executive director for the Decorative Arts Center of Ohio, right here on Main Street, just up from us right here. You're back open now, I'm sure, on a more limited basis than what you had hoped, but everybody is. It's whatever the new normal is. Bad term, but whatever that is, that's what we do.
Right.
So 100% open, near 100%, would you say?
So we're open. We're open Wednesday through Sunday, with slightly more limited hours than we used to be, although we're open from 11 to 4 on the weekdays and 1 to 4 on the weekends. We are easy to be safe. Our building is really, we're very lucky that we can create a single path through the building. So you can socially distance, and everyone wears masks, and we have all the precautions in place. But we really, and we're free to the public. And we've always been free, but we really wanted, when we opened, to make sure that we were doing it in a way that was responsible, but also really gave people an opportunity to, particularly as we've all been sort of cooped up and trying to figure out what our boundaries are, to create a public space that is as safe as and comfortable as we could make it. We also are starting our arts education programs slowly back up and trying to see what we can do to create those opportunities in our Wendell Center, both in person and virtually. So I think over the next several months, people will be seeing those programs start to reemerge, and we're doing our best to, when we can, do public programming again, safely socially distanced, but doing artist talks and curator talks, and using spaces in the community that allow for that. So we're really trying to do everything we can to provide as many opportunities for the public to engage with us as possible in this new normal that is going to evolve over time. But I think we're we're in good position to do that.
What's the current exhibition going on right now?
So the current exhibition is called 2 + 3 × 18 Diptychs and Triptychs by 18 Ohio artists.
Wow.
Say that 10 times real fast.
That'd be very difficult.
Yeah. And really, it's an exploration of the idea that the diptychs and triptychs are sort of the ancient art of 2-panel or 3-panel pieces of artwork that would tell a story. So very often they were found in churches and places where you'd have multi-panels that would tell a story. So the curator sort of took that idea and said, looked for artists that use multiple pieces, 2 or 3 pieces together to convey their artistic message. And it includes sculpture and photography and prints and paintings. And so it's not limited to a specific type of art. The organizing principle is this narrative method of using multiple pieces, and it's a fascinating. It's such a great exhibition for me to come on board with, because I think there's so many opportunities for conversation with the people you're with, or to reflect on. And when I brought my family through, I had really great conversations with my 12-year-old daughter at some of the pieces to talk about the relationships, and I mean, it really is an interesting collection of works.
So here we are, the end of September, beginning of October. What's next on the agenda?
Sure. So
always, your place always does such a great job of making just several a year, just great exhibitions.
Thank you. Yeah. We try to do 3 exhibitions a year because of the change in sort of schedules, abrupt change in schedules. Our next exhibition, which I'll talk about in a second, is going to run into next year, and then we'll have 2 additional exhibitions next year, and then we'll be back on the 3 exhibitions a year schedule. But our next, the Diptychs and Triptychs show closes at the end of October, and then we open an exhibition called Russian Decorative Arts from the Tsars to the USSR, which opens November 21st and runs through February 28th.
Sounds
of 2021.
fascinating.
It is going to be fascinating.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupt you. What were the dates again?
So the dates are November 21st through February 28th of 2021.
Okay.
It'll also be opening along with our annual Christmas exhibition we have every year in the house, which is always a popular piece. So the collection of materials is fascinating. Is really exciting, and I think it's a unique look into the history of a place that is in the news, but also has an incredibly rich history. And I think the objects help tell that story and tell the change in their history over time. And so I'm really excited about it.
And it sounds like you've got things laid out here even well into 2021 as you move there. And again, you're on somewhat of a limited basis. You're kind of held back in the constraints of a COVID-19 world we live in right now. So I guess as you look for plans for the future, you've told us what the next exhibition would be. I guess we'll just see how everything works out. None of us know at this point.
That's
the ink is even dry, and I'm sure you change your plans on just a whim. You have to move things around. But the plans would be to, if things work out, gradually expand the hours, get back to what perhaps you used to be.
Yes. So we're going to keep on, following all of the state guidelines and regulations. We're going to keep sort of looking forward. We've got a schedule for exhibitions, and as I mentioned, we're working on the class schedule and all of the other things we're able to do. And we're also looking at what it looks like to build the capacity for digital access to these things. Should we have to physically shut down again? What does that? How can we have the infrastructure in place to continue to provide those opportunities?
That may be something that would come out of this, is maybe look at what you're forced into, but you may find out that, well, maybe that's a good way to go.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think that's true for us. I think that's true for lots of organizations like us, and beyond that. I mean, I think we've learned a lot that even if we go back to the old normal again and never have to worry about this again, I think there will be lessons we've learned through this process that have made us stronger, and we'll be able to continue to increase the ways we connect with people.
Well, certainly the Decorative Arts Center is a bright star in the world of museums down here in Lancaster, but we've got a lot of museums for a small town like this. You're right there, be right next to the Sherman House, the Glass Museum, the Georgian just a block away from here. There's a lot of emphasis in a small town like this on the arts, and I'm sure that just plays into your wheelhouse.
It absolutely does. One of the things that I think we struggle with a little bit is that we're at the top of the hill, right? So you have to want to come and see us, but I think that that's an exciting opportunity for us to
Sure.
To figure out how to bring those folks. Have folks feel like we're a place for them. To your point about the other organizations in town, I am so excited to be part of a community of such strong organizations.
They value that.
Yes, and I, from what I've seen so far in my limited time here, I think that the opportunity to work together, with those other organizations is really strong and really exciting, and I think I'm looking forward to getting to be a part of that. Those conversations
it's going to be a fun time. We're glad you're in the community. We look for a lot. Now we're always excited about the Christmas time show, so we'll try to get you back on and talk about that. That's always a beautiful, exciting time at the Decorative Arts Center. Jason Crabill, who is the executive director. The new kid on the block here at the Decorative Arts Center. Appreciate Jason being on with us today. And thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.